Shalom. First off, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to the hopeful elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth. And to all my brothers out here that are preaching this truth, to you I say Shalom. This is Amatazar from the Chicago camp, coming back at you again with another lesson entitled Emancipation, Connecting the Dots. So the title of this lesson, Emancipation, Connecting the Dots. I'm trying to connect the dots for those hopeful elect that are under the sound of my voice today. All right. Hollywood, okay, has made millions of dollars over and over again by so-called triggering the so-called children of the slave trade, which are you blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and West Indians and Haitians. Okay. All of you guys are the children of the Lord. Okay. You're all considered Israelites. And you're named after, okay, the so-called heathen that put you in captivity and changed your name. All right. You are the children of Israel. That's who you are. You're Israelites. Now, what I love about Hollywood is the fact that for many years, every other year, they come out with a new slave movie. All right. So in psychology, these are movies where they're profiting off of triggering you. Okay. One of the things that the enemy does, he loves to throw things in your face over and over and over again. Okay. Because he wants you to feel that hurt and that pain and that this and that. All right. Because he feels he can control you with that. All right. He loves to glory, all right, in the fact that you're underneath him. But the bad part about it is, while he's trying to trigger you and keep you in an emotional frenzy, all right, and keep us all divided, one of the things he's doing is proving who he is according to the scriptures, okay? And Esau Edom is nothing but the sword of the Lord. That's all he is, all right? He was created, all right, for the purpose, all right, of reproving us, because he is the Lord's sword, and we're going to cover that as well, all right? So now, let's get into um, this truth. So Hollywood's making all these movies, right? And what they're doing is they're exposing themselves to be the evil man of sin, all right, that's written in the Bible. And also, it's exposing our history as going through the worst evil under heaven, okay? Now, Daniel, the 9th chapter, talks about that. Daniel, the 9th chapter, says that, and he hath confirmed his words which he spake against us and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil. For under the whole heaven have not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem. Who is Jerusalem? Jerusalem is Zion. Who is Zion? The children of Israel. Daniel 9 and 12 says that under the whole heaven have not been done as has been done unto Jerusalem. There's no evil under heaven that has been done greater than what has been done to us. Just the transatlantic slave trade alone is estimated that 90 to 120 million souls were lost in just the transatlantic slave trade, not counting the Spanish Inquisition, when the so-called Moors, Israelites, were shipped out of Europe, okay? Not counting what happened to the Northern Kingdom over here in America. That's not counting any of that. So any of these numbers in the thousands that the so-called Ish people have contrived, all right, it doesn't compare to what the Lord wrote in the scriptures, because he said that under heaven there has not been a greater evil done unto no other people but Jerusalem. All right. So Galatians the 4th chapter, tells you we're not African, okay? But Jerusalem, which is above, is free, which is the mother of us all. We're not Hamitic. We're not Africans. The lie that they would have you believe is that we're Africans. Now, we were exiles in Africa because of um, 70 AD and the Roman persecution. Okay, so the Roman persecution that came down upon Jerusalem, the Israelites fled into Africa. Okay, but the Israelites were also gathered up, okay, and trapped and caught and sold into slavery. All right, so that's your southern kingdom. All right, the northern kingdom was already here in America, and you know them as the so-called Indians, the North American Indians. Okay, they came over here during the Assyrian captivity before Judah. All right, but we're gonna get into all of that. Let's keep going. So let's go into Deuteronomy, the 30th chapter. All right, where Moses presents to the nation of Israel the blessings and the curses. All right, now the Lord had already given Moses the breakdown. Moses was a prophet. The Lord gave Moses the breakdown and told Moses exactly what was going to happen to this people. All right. So here in Deuteronomy, this is after Egypt and before any captivity. Okay. Before any captivity, Moses is speaking about captivities that the children of Israel were going to go into. And so here he talks about the blessing and the curse. So let's read. Verse 1. And it shall come to pass when all these things will come upon thee, the blessing and the curse which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither Yahweh thy power hath driven thee. See that? And shall return unto Yahweh thy power, and shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day. Thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then Yahweh thy power will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee, and will return and gather thee from all the nations whither Yahweh thy power hath scattered thee. If any of thine be driven out unto the uttermost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Okay? Now, that right there should bring to mind Matthew 24, 30, and 31. Let's go there real quick, since I said it. And it reads, and shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he shall send his angels, Salaki, I touched it. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. See that? All right, let's go back to Deuteronomy 30. Okay. All right, verse 4 again. If any of thine be driven out unto the uttermost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy power gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Now let's jump down. Okay, we're going to jump down to 19. I call heaven and earth to record this day against you, that I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live, that thou mayest love Yahweh thy power, and that thou mayest obey his voice, and that thou mayest cleave unto him. For he is thy life, and the length of thy days, that thou mayest dwell in the land which Yahweh sware unto thy fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, to Jacob, to give them. So that's what this is all about. Okay? So when you see these movies dealing with the so-called slave trade, These are examples, okay? These are visual examples of who you are, all right? And the judgment that the Lord put upon us, okay? So the blessing and the curse, right? What happened? The blessing and the curse was put before us. And guess what? We did not heed it. So what ended up happening? We were scattered. We were scattered. Let's go to Baruch 4 and 6. You were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because ye moved the Most High to wrath, ye were delivered unto the enemies. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrificing unto devils, and not to the Most High. Ye have forgotten the everlasting power that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. There it is, back again. Okay? Back again. You see it again. We have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you, because Jerusalem is the mother of us all. That's Galatians 4 and 26. Okay? So now, this no doubt is going to be, no doubt is going to be at least a two-part lesson. So let's go ahead and go to Deuteronomy and find out where we went astray, and then I'll close out this and then come back for the rest of Emancipation, connecting the dots. So let's go to Deuteronomy, the 28th chapter, all right, where the curses are. And we're going to start at the 15th verse. It says, But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Ooh. See that promise? That is a fucking promise. Let's start at 32. Because right now we're talking about emancipation and we're dealing with this slavery. Verse 32 says, thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fill with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand. Okay? Now that right there was common practice in slavery. Common practice in slavery was being separated from your children or separated from your parents. Okay, being sold onto other lands, family being split up. Let's go to 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low. He shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee, and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahweh thy power, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever. Because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with the gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. So because we didn't serve the Lord, okay, he made it where we're going to serve our enemies. All right. And he says we were going to be at the bottom forever. So explain something. How is it that those so-called people who claim to be the people of the book, okay, but have Ish on their name, which means they're not the people of the book, but how are they at the head of medicine? How are they at the head of law? How are they at the head of finance and banking? How are they at the head of media, the news media? They are in all of the so-called strategic positions to suppress the truth, to institute laws and education. I forgot. I don't know if I said about education. They're at the head of education. So these can't be the people and be under these curses at the same time. How you gonna be the people of the Lord? But the Lord said that his people was going to have these curses upon them forever until he returns. Who's lending to who? We are, I mean, and then we so filled with this plantation Christianity, we don't see nothing. We don't see any of these. All right. You don't see the relationship between slavery and something spiritual. You got to be able to make those connections. You got to see that slavery was a divine punishment. It was spiritual. Because thou servest not Yahweh thy power with joyfulness and with the gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Therefore shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee. Let me read that again. Therefore, verse 48, shalt thou serve thy enemies, which Yahweh shall send against thee, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee. Yahweh shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Okay? So we've done plenty of lessons, okay? Plenty of lessons that talk about Esau, Edom, all right, and their bird being the eagle. All right, you can find that in Obadiah 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kine, or flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. Okay. Now, when you read these curses, right? What you're taught, what these curses add up today is called systemized racism. That's what it's called. It's called systemic racism. That's the label or the 21st century term that's put on these curses. See, the spiritual man understand that they're curses, all right, but everybody else says it's systemic racism. That's what it is. All right, let's go down to 64. We're gonna close on this 68. It says, and Yahweh shall scatter thee among all people, from one end of the earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But Yahweh shall give thee there a trembling heart, and a failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even. And at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. See that? No peace. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And Yahweh shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way that whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you. Okay? Now, that no man shall buy you, all right, if you're familiar with Israelite law, okay, when you put yourself into slavery because you fell upon hard times, you can be redeemed by your brother. Okay. Now, here, of course, nobody's gonna redeem you here. This is Deuteronomy 28:68, and my notes for that, there's Jeremiah 50 and 33. Thus said Yahweh of hosts. It says, the children of Israel and the children of Judah were oppressed together, and all that took them captives held them fast. They refused to let them go. Okay, where were the children of Israel? Okay, which would be the northern kingdom, and the children of Judah oppressed together in the Americas. Okay. All right. So with that, I pray that this lesson has been edifying. So I'll come back with a part two, and the part two of emancipation, connecting the dots. Shalom.